Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to be going over case 1 and case 2 from the speed solving wiki. And for these insertions it's important to know how to insert this pair in this slot, in this slot, in this slot, and in this slot without doing any rotations at all. So it doesn't matter if it's oriented or not, because a lot of times when you're solving a pair, basically what you're doing is you're breaking them apart and then pairing them back up into a pair of some sort, and that pair most of the time lands on the top layer. So if you can easily insert this piece into this slot without a lot of moves, then that's the goal. So there's two versions. There's the oriented version where the edge piece lines up with the side that it's supposed to go on. So this is also an oriented version because the red matches up with its opposite color, which means it's oriented. You can do it in two gens. Or there's a non-oriented version, so you can tell it doesn't match up, and then these don't match up. The top piece and the front or the back piece don't match up. So non-oriented will require 3 generations of movement, so a front move or a rotation of some sort. For our oriented versions, these are easy, but there's a lot of them. If the pair is here over the slot like this, then we will go just do a sledgehammer. And a sledgehammer is you bring it down, you move it out of the way, fix your cross, and then you thumb back up. So down, move it out of the way, fix your cross, and then with your thumbs right here, you move it up to solve. So that's the sledgehammer. If it's here, it's easy. It's just easy insert. You should know this by now, but you just lift the slot up, back it in, and fix it. If it lands over here and your slot's here, then what you're going to do is just lift this slot up, U2, and then down. And you want to do that with your other hand. So if it's this slot, you want to lift it up and then U2 with your right hand. So you're using your fingers efficiently. So it's important to get used to that double flick with the left hand. And if it's here, there's two things that you can do. In this case, if this edge is oriented correctly, so if you can tell this is an oriented piece just by looking at it, and you don't want to change the orientation of that, then you just U2 and then insert it like you normally would. But if you do want to change the orientation of that piece, a sledgehammer will take this piece and flip it and put it here, so it will flip the orientation of this piece. So in order to do that, if you're here, move it here, and then we're going to sledgehammer with our middle finger. And that will insert the pair and flip that piece. So it might make the next pair a little easier. So that's if the case is here, we have a sledgehammer, we'll have a regular insertion, we'll have a lift up and then a U2, and then here is either a U2 and regular insertion or one and a sledgehammer with your middle finger. So that's if it's here. If it's back here, you should be able to do the same things. You need to be able to insert from the back without rotating the cube. So in this case, the easiest way to do this case, I think, is just to do the easy insert. So if it's here or here, just do the easy insertion. And when we use our fingers, we're going to lift up with this side, and we're going to push it in with our finger. Because this hand's already busy, so it's important to get comfortable with that too. If it's here, this one's easy because our slot's here. We're going to lift this slot up and then just U2 it in and then lower our slot. So that applies if you're inserting it back here and your pairs. So if the left-hand version, if it's back here, you want to lift this up and then insert it in. So you can translate all of these to the left-hand versions if you need to. So if it's here and our slot's here, so if our pair is here and our slot is here, then we're just going to lift our slot up, U2 it in, and then lower our slot, and that will place it in the right spot. And if it's here, if the pair is here and your slot is back here still, then we're just going to U2 and then lift up, push in with this finger, and then, so in this case we'll U2, and then our finger's right here to push, so when we lift up we'll just push in with our finger, and then we'll go back down. So those are the oriented versions of this. If it's not oriented, in this case, if it's pointing this direction, then it can only go in these two slots. So how you get it in this slot is if the pair lands directly above it like this, we'll just do a hedge slammer. So we'll take our finger, we'll push down on our finger here, we'll move this pair out of the way, we'll push back up with our finger to fix our cross, and then we'll fix. So there's it's called a hedge slammer, and you should get comfortable doing this with both sides. So the hedge slammer for this side, if this pair goes into this slot and it's not oriented, then the other way you can do a hedge slammer is to push down, move the whole R piece up, and then pull with this finger and then move down. So on the left hand side, I always do that for some reason, I'm not sure why. So on this one, but on this one, I always do the flick with my finger up. It's just more comfortable for me with my right hand to do that. So there's if it lands here. If it lands here, there's no real good way to do it. You just move it into one of the other places and then insert it. If it lands here, then what we're going to do is we're going to take our slot and we're going to put it behind the pair. So we're going to R2, and in this case, we will regrip. So we will regrip, we'll spin R2 around, we'll flick the pair into the slot, and then when we're coming back down, because the next thing we have to do is undo our R2, but when we do that, we have our cross messed up. So we'll move it once, fix our cross, and then move it again. Oops. So if it's back here, then we'll regrip, spin, flick it in, move it down one, fix our cross, and then in. So that'll pair your thing up. So that's if it lands here. If it lands here, what a lot of people do is they just lift the slot up, back it in, and then lower it. But that feels awkward to me. So what I do is I lift this slot up, but I do it by one of those moves. So all you're doing is you're taking junk and putting it down here so you can move this whole face. Because if we know we don't care about these two pieces. If you lift here, then now we don't care about these two pieces too, because it was whatever was on the top. So when you basically you're just doing a lot of this, but you're lifting this slot up by pushing it up like that. And then you want to lift this funky stuff back up again, back it into where it's supposed to go, and then the same thing applies. So you can do it relatively quickly, and it's not awkward, and it's completely regripless, which I like. And you can do it from any angle, and I'll show you that one here in a second, but I really like that one because you can do it from the back without regripping, because sometimes this is awkward to do from the back, and this is regripless no matter what corner it's in. So, and if it lands here, we went over that. So if it's in this slot, we do a hedge slammer. You either move it to the hedge slammer or the back case. The back case is just the R2 one, and then here is the lift up and insert. Now, that's if it's in this position. If it's in this position, if it's in the back, then if it lands here, we can do the same insertion that we do here, the regripless version. We can just do it from the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this slot up by moving top layer into the junk down here, or junk from the top layer into the back, so we can push it up. So once again, that's, and all I'm doing is just holding on and doing this with this hand. So that's if it's here. If it's here, we can do the same as this insertion where we do the R2 to slide it in. We just do it from a different angle. So if it's here, we're going to grab the side that the slot goes in. We're going to regrip, spin it around, put it in slot, and then we'll move it once, and then our thumb's right here, so we'll just fix our cross with our thumb and then move back. So that one does require a regrip. Okay, so if it's there, we'll do that insert from the other direction. We'll regrip and then spin around and then fix. So, and then push up with the thumb, and then one more. If it's here, then you either make this case or you do this case. And now this case, basically what we're going to do is we're going to perform a sledgehammer from a different angle, or a hedge slammer from a different angle, but we're going to put some junk back here so we can move this whole face. So this, if we do this, we're putting whatever's on the top here into this slot so we can move this whole face, because we don't care about these because that's where it goes. So if we move that junk into this face, and then we can fix our slot, move it out of the way, fix our cross, because our cross was messed up when we did that, so this fixes our cross. And then if your finger should be right here, so you can push the middle finger to fix that. And I'll show you that again. So if it's here in the back like this, what we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to do and you can do that relatively quickly, and it's nice to know because you can insert this unoriented pair. This is not the oriented version. You can insert the non-oriented pair in the back without any regrips or rotations. And it's a little awkward at first, but once you get used to it, it's actually pretty easy to do. And it gives you a view of this the back as well, which is nice. So we'll do that one more time. And the same thing applies for this. If it's back here, then we'll take this junk from the top, we'll move it into the back layer, we'll push our pair in, we'll move our pair out of the way, we'll fix our cross, and then we will use our ring finger to fix it. So, oops. Just to recap, if it's oriented, we can sledgehammer it in. If it's here, this is just an easy insert. If it's here, we can lift up and then U2 in. And then if it's here, we can either U2 and then insert, or do the first middle finger if you want to reorient that edge. That's the insertion in the front. If it's in the back, if it's oriented and in the back, then we just move it out of the way. If it's here, we can lift up and double. If it's here, you just move it to the double, or basically you move it here or here, because that's really the easy way to do the insert if it's oriented. So by looking at this, I should be immediately able to tell if it's oriented because these are the same. I mean, blue and green are considered the same when it comes to orientation. So I know this is oriented, so I don't have to think about it. I know I can insert it. I can just throw it in. I don't have to look, and I can just tell it's oriented. I can throw it in that piece with just 2 gens of movement. So here's my first gen of movement, here's my second gen of movement, and down. And if it's not oriented, we have the head slammer to get it in there. We have this move to get it in there. If it's here, you just move it. You move the pair here, or you move the pair here, and then if it's here, we'll do this regrip, spin it around, push it in to fix it. And if it's in the back, I don't know why I always do that wrong. So if it's in the back, we'll do the same push up insertion. If it's here, we'll do the regrip around. If it's here, we'll just either move it here or here. And I like this one because it does give you a view of other pieces, because you're spinning this around so you get to see this back pair. And then if it's back here, we will do the push it in, fix the cross, and then middle finger the middle slice to fix it. So I believe that is all the different insertions for this case for every corner. Now you do need to know the left hand, right hand versions of these, so you should be able to be comfortable with doing a sledgehammer from the left and the head slammer from the left. Yeah. So if you have any questions, or if this was vague, or if you guys know of another insertion that is easy, and remember my goals are regripless and kind of easy to remember, but this case in particular is important to know, this one and the next one, case 3 and 4, because most of the time what you're doing is you're just creating this pair and then you're inserting it somewhere. So it's important to know this insertion from every angle, whether it's oriented or not. So I hope this helped out, and my next video will be on this case and this case. So case 3 and 4 will be the next video. Stay tuned. Happy cubing, everyone.